It's been a while since I talked about my main rig, so let's see how we went from this to that. My last video was in September 26, 2014. Christ, it has been a while. So in that video it's mostly just cleaning up the cables and that kind of thing. I'll put some pictures up and talk you through how it's changed over the years. I ended up with two R9 295X2s and I had to get a new power supply for that, and I got a Evga Supernova G2 80 plus gold, and I really liked those cards. They were, you know, big, hot, powerful, but they not all games support crossfire, so ended up with 3 GPUs just sitting there doing nothing most of the time. And ended up painting the case, and I decided just to go with blue. And it was my first time painting a case or really anything like that. And it turned out alright, but the paint was very... It wasn't very strong. I wasn't very patient with it. I just slapped it on. But it was alright. And then in 2015 I decided to get a new case because the one that I was using, it was just, everything was just crammed into it, and there was just no space, and the airflow was pretty bad. When you've got 2 radiators on the side and they're just pulling in 250 watts of dissipated heat from the graphics cards, it was quite toasty. So I went with the Phanteks Info Primo because I was kind of thinking about water cooling, and this whole time it's kind of been just this goal that I never quite get around to getting done. It's even now it's still on the table, but it's a lot of work. It's expensive as well, and there isn't much performance benefit to be gained. It's mostly just silence and aesthetics and that kind of thing. But yeah, so I had that case and those graphics cards for a while, and then one of my dual GPU cards, they were a pain in the arse because I ended up going through about 5 of them before I got 2 that actually worked properly. Every time I would get a card and I would test it out, and it would either just flat out not work, or there'd be artifacts at stop clocks, or it'd be immediately overheating, or the pump just wasn't working. So after returning God knows how many, I ended up with 2 that worked, and there was no headroom for overclocking at all. It was hovering about 70C, and there's a 75C limit on it, so there wasn't anywhere to overclock because it was just already at the limit at stock speeds. And I don't know if it was 6 months or a year later, in 2015, in July, if this picture's dates to be believed, one of them started leaking. So that was under warranty, so I managed to return it, and they just gave me a full refund. So I was looking at other cards because the 980 Ti had came out, and I went with the two dual GPU cards because they were pretty much 780 performance at a fraction of the price. So I think it was like £250 for basically one R9 290, but there were like 2 on a card. But since a lot of games don't use crossfire, I was looking at the 980 Ti, and it was quite significantly better in a single GPU performance. So I ended up going with one of them. I went with the Inno 3D I forget what they call it, but it was this card here, and it was all-into-one liquid-cooled card, and it was quite good. But a few months, like maybe 6 months later, that one died as well. I don't know what happened. I was just playing a game and it just went dead. So that got covered under warranty, and they let me choose 980 Ti out of their stock, because they didn't have any more of that particular card in stock. So I ended up with a Gigabyte Extreme card, which was a really nice card. And then the GTX 1080 came out, and I waited for the reviews, and I was looking at the reviews and the performance, and it was again significantly faster. So I was like, yeah, I'll just sell that and get one of those. So by this point I'd also upgraded to Skylake from Haswell, and when I went to Skylake I ended up with 32 gigabytes of 2400 megahertz DDR4, because I wanted to play around with RAM disk, and I just wanted to experiment and see if there was any benefits to be had from loading things from a RAM disk compared to an SSD, and it turned out that not really. So I quickly abandoned that idea after maybe another 6 months, and got a 16 gig kit from Avexir, and that was 3600 megahertz up from 24. So I thought it might not be much of a benefit, but I'll actually get a benefit from that compared to just having more of it. So it was an upgrade downgrade kind of thing. And then I think it was around August this year, 2017, I got a test bench and just stripped everything and just threw it all on the bench, and started working on painting the case. I'd always kind of had this colour scheme planned out already. I wanted yellow, I wanted, you know, like radiation warning kind of theme, and I've even called it Trident just because of the British nuclear submarines are called Trident, or is it the nuclear warheads? I don't know. Anyway, that's the name I went with for it, and the colour scheme. And so I painted the interior yellow and some of the vents yellow, and I also got a key switch and just put a little radiation keyring on it, and I also wired it to the actual power switch, so you can use either of them to turn it on. And I swapped out the blue LEDs for the power button and the hard drive activity to white ones from blue, just to make it match a bit better. And I made this plate out of acrylic, and I folded the edges over like a lip, and I made this design in Photoshop. It's just a radiation symbol, got rid of the dot in the middle, spaced the two like wings out, and put Trident in the middle. I also experimented with the idea of making some kind of shroud for the rear I/O, all the cables coming out the back, because it's usually just like that, and I'm sitting like that way, so the cables are all coming out the back like spaghetti, and I just wanted to make something to cover them up, and ended up not using it because it didn't really turn out the way I'd hoped. I wanted something sleek and understated, and you know, it's just supposed to hide cables, it's not meant to stick out, but it just didn't look right, so I ended up just abandoning it. So I finally found some supplier for the tempered glass, and I got a piece cut that would fit. And originally I was going to just bolt it on with some bolts and some like rubber washers or something, but there's not much clearance, and you need a certain distance away from the corners, and I just couldn't I couldn't get the holes further and further from the corners, so I ended up just going with some of the double-sided tape of the gods, and it seems fine. It's not, you know, you think double-sided tape will come off easy, but it's been alright. So hopefully it doesn't fall off, but it's been a few weeks now, a couple weeks, 3 weeks maybe, so I don't think it's going to fall off now. So my future plans are, like I said, that, you know, that carrot on a stick water cooling, I'll get there one day. I might, depending on how things go, I might start looking into it in the spring, in the summer, next year maybe, but who knows, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, that's the story of it so far. I have a time-lapse video of me doing all the paint and cutting the acrylic and the soldering and stuff like that that I'll be doing at some point. I've got all the footage, I just need to edit it together. I'm just waiting on trying to find a supplier for the LED strips that go around the case. I'll show some footage of what I mean, but they're a pain in the arse to find because they're super narrow, and most LED strips are too wide. So when I get that, and I can finally start finishing that video, and yeah, so hope you enjoyed. See you later.